This is Propulsion, the financial professional's catalyst to exponential growth. Are you a driven and ambitious financial professional, but you are finding it hard to break through to the next level? Or are you struggling to build and run your practice successfully? Join Francois Detoy, a leading consultant and trainer, as he interviews not only the experts, but also people you have never heard of before, but who have done amazing things, about how they run their practices, the challenges they face, how they overcome those challenges, their failures, which tech has improved their business, how their revenue models work, and other practical aspects. We go deep so you can learn as much as possible. And here is your host, Francois Detoy.
Because I care and believe that wisdom, integrity, honesty, growth, perseverance, excellence, and courage are the foundation of my values and the reason people trust me. Those are the words of our guest. And she grew up in the Bushveld and matriculated as head girl from Pretoria Commercial High School. And she received a degree, a BCom degree from the University of Pretoria. And she was nominated for Businesswoman of the Year in the 80s. And I guess that's why the 80s was such a fantastic era in our lives. It's my favorite era. She's been president of the Junior Chamber of Commerce in Pretoria. She was a director of an international marketing and export business for 10 years and finally achieved the highest international qualification as a certified financial planner. She has a passion for professionalism, and having served in the industry for more than 25 years, she now enjoys paying it forward. She just recently became the first financial transitionist planner in Africa, something that we will discuss in detail today. Mariette Tappan, what an honor. Welcome.
Thank you very much for hosting me on this talk of yours, and I think it is an absolutely fantastic initiative, and I want to commend you for for doing what you do. So I look forward to our conversation today. I'm a little bit nervous, but certainly.
Yeah, no, it's just going to be a nice conversation, and I'm really, if I say I'm honored, I'm really honored. We've gotten to know each other a little bit through working together on committees with the FBI, etc. I've really sort of started following. I knew the name because I also worked for the same company that you do work for, and I've always known the name, but you never get to know the people behind the name. I think that was one of the great things when we started working, and I think there was just a natural, we were sort of speaking the same language, had the same views and visions and that kind of thing. And I really think that you are inspiring to me because you are taking things to the next level. And I don't want to say you're not happy with the status quo always, but it's like there's always a better way of doing things for you. And you always have this thing of how can I be better today than I was yesterday, which is one of our core values. It's if anybody works with us, we want them to be better today than what they were yesterday. And for me, you embody that. I can't tell you why, but you do.
Thank you, Francois. I think it comes from a seminar that I attended one year, and that particular person said to the audience that if you stand still, you are actually getting behind. So that was something that I remember, and because I am a strong believer in always reinventing yourself and growing, and that is really part of who I am.
And I think that's why I love it so much to talk to you and to spend time with you. I want to start off with your backstory. I mean, I mentioned that you were nominated as Businesswoman of the Year in the 80s. I think in the 80s, I was in high school. Well, just the last part of the 80s. So it's a long time ago. But that means that it was early on in your career, and you were nominated for that. You were part of and I think you restarted the Junior Chamber, if I'm not mistaken. So can you just maybe tell us what you did before you joined this industry 25 years ago? What was Mariette up to, and just what was that journey like just in the early days?
Well, I don't know how long you want to take me, how far you want to take me back, but I think it is important to always realize where you come from and the role models that you meet along the way. So when I was in high school, I already started to work in the shoe shop, in the chemist, to earn extra income because I had an economist as a father, and he just, I think he gave me the rules of nothing comes easy. You have to work for whatever. And I think I just have got a selling streak in me. So that was, I think, where everything started. It started with being aware that, there's so much potential in life and that you have to get going with the smallest of things. Even if you work in the garden and you learn how to do something, that is important, because later on in your life, you use those skills. At the time you don't think that is important. So I matriculated in 1980, as you mentioned, and I went to the commercial high school because that was also a different thing for me to do. It was a dual medium school, and they taught me how to type, and they taught me about economics, and I wasn't going to do science and so forth. So I have a business mind. And I was fortunate to end up, doing and getting involved with those type of topics right from the beginning. After I matriculated, I studied then at Takis, and then I went overseas. I stayed in New York for 1 year, where I worked in the rag trade, and that made me streetwise in many ways. And I'm grateful for the opportunity. But while that, to pay for my studies, I did modeling. And I traveled the whole world, with the cotton board and the wool board, and that was also great experiences, which helped me later on in my life. I think the love for traveling then made me go into exports and imports and marketing, and I was traveling the whole world to market South African products, and was quite successful in doing so, in especially the East. But with the sanctions that came along, it made it very difficult for me. I also got married, and I decided that I had to change my career. I always said that I would never sell insurance, but my insurance broker, he called himself Quiller Creer. He was from Sanlam, and he always said to me, "Langif, you have to go and sell insurance." And I said, well, over my dead body, but they say you must never say never. And so I ended up with a couple of interviews, and I landed up with Liberty Life, and that was the start of my career. So it was actually by default, because I don't think that you would intentionally go and do something that you said you were never going to do.
Yeah, you never find a high school student saying like, one day I want to be a financial advisor or a financial planner, unless maybe it's in the family and that's what they do. But you will never find somebody getting up in the morning and say, "Oh, that's what I want to be." Usually we get lured into this industry, or you get somebody, or something happens that sort of makes this sometimes the only option. And then sometimes people convince you to join this, and then you either fall in love with it or you hate it and you leave. But there's nothing really in between, kind of thing. So it's interesting to also learn. I didn't know that you lived in New York for a year, so that was something new I learned. I think in the whole process of where you started and saying that, oh, I've got a business mind, I've got the selling streak in me, is that something that you think you were sort of born with? Is it something that maybe your parents instilled in you? Or is it just, because I think a lot of people feel that we shouldn't be selling, and I don't want to get into this whole like financial advice versus the products. It's not about that. What I want to know is everything we do in life, we sell something, either an idea or a feeling or a, whatever it is. I need to convince somebody to go with me to a meeting. It's a sale that I need to do. And it's a very, very important skill that all of us actually need. But is it something, do you think, that we get born with? Is it something we can learn? Is it something that, if your parents instill it in you when you are still young, it's easier for you? And I know that's a very long question. I have this knack for asking long-winded questions. But it's just like, what is your view on that specifically? Well,
I think one comment that I made earlier on was that my grandfather was in business. And it is, you learn by example. And he once said to me also that in life you sell everything. So if you have got the ability to sell something, you would never be poor. I think that stuck with me. But I think that one is born with certain skills. And, that is also part of what I do in my development as a person. From very young, I wanted to know exactly who I am and what makes me tick and how can I be better. So I think one has got to realize what is your skills early in life to be able to develop that more, because I don't think anybody in life is just a born salesman, although a lot of people say that. But there's a lot of skills and a lot of resilience that goes with selling. And I think, it is that mindset change, it is your skill set, and, one is to develop it. But I think you are born with it in a certain way.
It's that thing between talent and skill, or talent and hard work. Somebody's got the skills and they've got the talent. Doesn't matter whether it's sport or business or whatever it may be. They will tend to be better, but talent alone is not the thing that would distinguish you from anybody else. It's actually getting the skills, working on it, and do that. And that sort of leads me into more of the things that we want to talk about in this, or that I want to talk about with you in this interview, is this constant drive of yours to learn and to do things better. And I'm wondering, is it just that, or is it because you're seeing that there are more that people need than just, for instance, financial advice?
Most definitely, Francois. I think being a female in a male's world, and I'm not a feminist at all, I had to learn how to better myself, to get my message across in a way that was not going to make me not make me something different that I'm not. And I always put myself in the shoes of other people. And I think because I was skeptic about the industry to start with, and also the little bit of experience I had and, people that I've spoken to when I just joined the industry, like, oh, is that what you're going to do? And typically around the fireplaces and, meeting places, when people ask you what you do and you tell them that you're on insurance, everybody sort of like gets stiff-necked. And I hope you don't ask them, can you help them with their finances? So I realized that I had to do things differently. And I think, with my growth mindset, that was something which I was adamant to do differently.
So when we start in the industry, whether it was now back in the 80s or whether it's now, I don't think it's much different, is a lot of people tend to be taught, this is the product, this is how you sell it, this is how you match the need to the product, and out you go, and you need to earn a living, and there you go. How long, was that the same for you? I guess because it was back in the 80s. And at what point did you realize that, sure, Mariette, there must be a better way in terms of helping people? Because for you, everywhere I see your stuff, it says, because I care. And I strongly believe that that is a very deep-seated I care, genuinely, it's not just 3 words on a piece of paper.
It was 2 years in the industry. I can tell you very specifically at what particular day it was. I was struggling to make ends meet, coming from a background of business and, having done things in a total different way that I was taught, coming into the insurance industry. I opened my salary check, or my commission check, should I rather say, and it was 123 Rand. And at that moment in time, I had to make a choice. Either I stay or I go. And, there wasn't at that moment in time a lot of options. And also I'm a persistent type of person, so I wasn't going to give up. But what I did differently then was I decided to take whatever I've learned and then do things that suits me. So I created a logo and I branded myself in a different way. I created a brochure and I did things, I would say, the Mariette way. And I would encourage every other advisor or, whatever you do it authentically the way that you are. And that is really when things started to change. So my message was different, my confidence was different, and that's really where my journey started. But it was a slow journey. I wasn't successful right from day one because I did things differently. So, 25 years later, I'm very happy that I persevered in doing that.
And I think that is the thing where people lack patience. So when things don't happen immediately, this is not for me, and they give up or they go back to their old ways or they leave. And you did not do that. You persisted. As you said, that's just the type of person that you are. You will fight for what you believe in and you will do what needs to be done and then have the patience to match that. And it's the same it was a long-term investment, and you knew, and I believe that people know inherently what the right thing is for them and for their clients. And I've said this in a couple of interviews already, is that it's important for everybody in that relationship to benefit from the relationship. So you can't offer yourself to your clients and they are the only ones who benefit. The same thing is that you can't be the only one to benefit, or the company you work for can't be the only one who benefits. It's like everybody in that relationship needs to benefit, but everything needs to revolve around the client. How much do you think your experience in business in that first 10 years that you were in business and you did the imports and exports and like traveled and you got to do with a total different side of the business, but how much of that knowledge and experience helped you to give better advice to your clients? And maybe the question is, first of all, did you even focus on other business clients because you were from that background, or where did you start?
The benefit of, having run your own business is that I didn't enter the industry as I felt a consultant. I saw it as my business. That helped me with my practice management. It helped me, looking at it as if it's my own little business within the company. So you've got a different view on how important the client really is to you. My practice was focused on the client, and obviously, I had to sell them a service and meet their need. But I think definitely that made a big difference in the way that I saw myself as a business and not as a consultant.
And also I think what I'm trying to get to is when you were able to advise clients or offer services or do things that other advisors could not. So if somebody came from teaching or the police, like a lot of them did back in the day, and they joined the industry, they wouldn't have that skill set to help other people take their businesses to the next level. So there's the one side, how are you running your business? And I do want to come back to that now. But also then what you could do for others. Because here's the point, is that it's not about the products you sell or put into implement or the company that you represent. It's about everything else, actually.
I can tell you a very real example. Our business had 4 partners. And the one partner got killed in a car accident. We had somehow very small buy and sell agreement in place, but not nearly sufficient in terms of what we had to face with his wife and with the circumstances around it. And so I can allude on many of those examples. So when you see the real problems in people's lives, in business people's lives, then you are able to approach them in a way of really understanding where they come from. And that is a lot of power, because you can associate with what they're dealing with their fears and with their concerns and also with their busyness. My business insurance, and, I've got a lot of people that, high CEOs, which they started off young. But I think that it really helped being in the same situation. So always put yourself in that situation. But, approaching people was then easier for me because I was able to identify better with them. So, I think for any consultant or for anybody in the industry is focus on the things and the people that you can associate with. If you've been in business or if you've been a sports person, go and focus on those type of people as a target market, because it will be easier for you. It would be very difficult for me to go and approach, what can I say, somebody that is in, let's call it music, because although I love music, I don't know how to make music. But it's just a simple example.
So now I want to get to the big topic that I'm very interested to talk to you about, and that is this new thing that you've just attained, or this new certification rather, because this isn't just a thing. It's not just something that it's a proper certification. It's a proper process. They have their own continuous education, like CPD in our words or in our language, requirements. They've got their own ethics and all of those things that you need to comply with. And this is this thing, and I've heard it for the first time when you mentioned it to me. I've never heard of it before, called the Financial Transitionist Planner. Am I saying that right?
Yeah, a while as well. But that is certainly a transitionist planner.
Okay, transitionist planner. I like that. It is I see when I type it as well, because I make notes of the things I want to talk about, and you type it, then even word puts a little red line underneath it. So either I'm spelling it wrong, or it's even like it's a special word. It does mean something special. And I want to know, like, what is this all about? What is being a transitionist planner? What is that all about? And maybe a little bit of the backstory of where that comes from and where that started and how long that's actually been available internationally.
It's been, the organization was established 15 years ago by Susan Bradley. She's the founder and the CEO of the Transitionist Planner Institute. And the minimum level of entry is a CFP qualification. But let me tell you why I embarked on this particular qualification. It was 2 years ago where during that year I have lost 5 of my very, very dear clients. And although I have dealt with people going through transition and, people losing their lives or getting cancer, something really profound happened in their life. But that year I realized that I had to qualify myself better, to serve my clients better. Because, we taught as financial planners, how to deal with the financial aspects of life. But most of the time, when you deal with people going through transition, and that's when we deal with people. People approach us when they go through a difficult time. They retire, they start a new job. Everything has got to do with change. And I just wanted to know that I am in the position where I'm really able to handle the emotional side of money much more efficiently to be able to get the client to make better decisions.
So it's much more about the human side of things, because money, we know the money side of things. So we know how to do the calculations. We can read a financial statement. We can read bank statements. We can have all those conversations kind of thing. But the big thing that we battle with is helping and supporting them through any change. And it's not always really like it's not always an emotional or sometimes there is a lot of emotion involved, but what it's not always a bad thing that causes the change. It can just be a change in the stage of your life. It's not necessarily that somebody passed away or you became disabled or you lost a job or things like that. It can just be, I have now worked for 40 years, now I need to go into retirement and I don't know what I'm going to do with the rest of my life because I've never thought about it. And those kind of things, I think, puts a lot of pressure on relationships. It brings money pressures and all that kind of things. Is that what this is all about? Just holding hands, helping them through that process and helping them figure out what this is or what it is that they are supposed to be doing, hopefully.
Well, there's a saying, especially within the fraternity of transitionist planners, and that is that when life changes, money changes. And when money changes, life changes. So I don't want to minimize the importance of the financial planning aspects and the integrity that goes into really getting to the solutions of the person. But I don't know how many, or if you, when you were in practice, dealt with clients where they got stuck. They just couldn't get to a decision. And you actually sometimes lost a client that, inherited a lot of money or that, went on retirement and they chose another financial planner or they just didn't do anything about it. So I think the tools, and once again, it's about the equipment that you have got, the skills that you've got, how to move your client forward, but not to pressurize them. So we as financial planners have been taught to tell our clients, this is what you have to do, this is the right way. But I think a lot of people don't want to be told anymore. A lot of listening goes into really getting to know your client. And I mean, most of I think that is the future. And that is why I did this, this particular qualification. Because if we have to look what is going to happen in the industry 10 years or 5 years from now, I mean, people can do their financial planning by robot or whatever. What else do we offer our clients that really makes, that is meaningful?
Yeah, and I think it's important to say that this is in addition to doing financial planning. This is not replacing financial planning at all. This is an additional skill set, an additional, or call it service if you will, but this is an additional way of adding value to your client and the relationship that you have with them. Because as you said, like when the one thing changes, the other thing changes. If money changes, life changes. If life changes, money changes. So the two are definitely linked. But we tend to go into meetings and let's talk about your portfolio performance. Let's talk about, there's now a newer product or a newer benefit, and you can save some money or you can have better benefits, whatever that situation may be. And I think they walk out of there uninspired, even more confused sometimes. And this is such a great way. And this is definitely a skill. I mean, on the one hand, we've got soft skills that you need, like how to engage, how to talk, how to relate, all the kind of things that we were taught in the sales process. But this is such an important aspect to help somebody, because I think this is where relationships really get cemented. If you can help somebody transition, and to use that word, or to instill or to have that transformation that they were looking for, to move to a new level, or to change direction even. It's not only just about leveling up. It can also be, oh, hell, I went down this road and this is not what I thought it would be, but now I don't know how to get off this road and back onto the right one that I'm supposed to be on. So this is I'm very, very intrigued with this. So the question is, where did you learn about this for the first time?
Well, I have got a coach, because I think that is, nowadays, it is so important to have somebody that keeps you accountable and that make you grow. Because of that, and through him, he introduced me to this particular concept. He actually went overseas to America to do a Strength Finder training, and during that training, he met up with somebody that is one of the co-founder members. Well, obviously they got talking, and that is how I actually got to find out about it. So,
this coach of yours, is he from within the industry or outside the industry?
No, he's from within the industry. So he was 29 years a financial advisor, and then he made a career change and he became a Strength Finder coach. And, I can really say that once, you deal with somebody that keeps you accountable, and not just only that, I think for financial advisors, we battle with a work balance in our life. We just do financial planning, and what helped with this particular coaching was first and foremost, just to confirm what is the strength that I operate from, because I think everybody must leverage on that, because that makes you better, not just only better, it makes you excellent. And then, to also keep balance in life, because, it's not just about work, it's about life in general. I think living a meaningful life together with serving other people and, setting an example is pretty much what we need to do.
So I had a coach as well about 2 years ago. And I think it's so important for somebody to, I think, understand the area that you play in, or the area that your business operates in. But it's also not a bad thing if they don't know. A lot of times we can learn a lot from people outside our industry, and that's why I was curious to find out if this person is do they have the background of, because it's also nice to sometimes get fresh thinking, where somebody would say something like, and your first reaction is like, but you clearly don't know and understand how things work here. But if you really sit down and think about the things and how we can do things differently, and that's one of my sort of ideas with this podcast as well, is to get different ideas. And I'm also toying with the idea to get people that run other businesses and ask them, if you were to do this, how would you apply these things? So specifically, it can still be like financial planners. What would they maybe do in an accounting space or a tax practitioner space, or, somebody that operates a lot with small business? What would they do if they were to start an FSP today? Because I think if we start thinking, that's outside the box thinking, just purely because that person is already outside the box, they don't fit in our little box. But importantly, just is first of all, to have a coach. The number one sports people in the world have got coaches. It's not only for the ones who's battling and the ones who's not. It's about somebody that can challenge you, somebody that can support you, I think, when you need it, somebody who can ask the hard questions, and at the end of the day, just somebody that can push you when you are done pushing yourself, because we all get to that stage. But it's also important for you to gel with that coach from a personality point of view, because otherwise it's also that can be the hardest meeting every week if that is not the case.
To your point, Francois, I want to just talk a little bit on what you've mentioned about learning from different industries. I think the challenge that we sit with is that we need to always look to do things in a different way. and using other industries' methods and methodology that made them successful is hugely beneficial. And I do that in my practice as well, and obviously with the help, and the insight of a coach. For example, you can learn so much from the success recipes that the motor industry's got to use, or the motor industry can use our skills and talents in the same way to better their experiences and their sales. So there's a lot of value in what you are saying. I certainly apply it into my business, and also use business networking, with my clients within them to get better value out of it, and also for them to interact with other people and learn how they got successful. So we actually serve such a fantastic industry where we can learn so much from each other and also better ourselves with the skills that we have got. Whether it be a yoga teacher or whether it be events manager, what do they do that make them successful? So I think one must be. It's everything. It's all about awareness. So if you think you know everything, then you won't be able to learn much from it. But
definitely, one of my favorite things to say is that you don't know what you don't know. And that is the most dangerous place to be. And then obviously, secondly, I think when you think you know everything, that's when things are starting to go the other way. We must always have this openness to learning and to be proven wrong, because even if something's been working for a long time, doesn't mean that it will continue like that. All right, back to the transitionist planning thing. The process to get certified. I know it takes a serious investment, and I'll see it as an investment and not as a cost. It's a serious investment. What was that process like?
Well, I'm not even going to go that route. What can I tell you about the process? Firstly, it just took me out of my comfort zone. I think we are very often finding ourselves in too much of a comfort zone, and we don't see the opportunities. So having enrolled as a financial transition planner, it put me in a place where I haven't been for quite some time. The cost involved was quite an investment. So everybody can go and so
can I ask it like this? So was it a high 5 number, a low 6 number? Did you have to travel for that, or did you do everything from here?
I was very fortunate to be able to do everything, online and from here, but it took a lot of commitment. And the qualification and the certification and the examinations are very, very strict. So, you have to comply with a lot of assignments and practical work. So it's not just only book work. So you have to go out there and you have to see and apply whatever you learn. And that is what I found very valuable, because, it's one thing to learn something out of a book, but there's another thing actually going out and practice what you've learned and then having to report back on what you've learned and how it helped the client. Yeah,
I remember when I became aware of this for the first time, you were busy with a whole, a portfolio of evidence kind of thing. So it's a real learn something, go and apply it, come back and sort of reflect on what it's done and the changes and what you've actually now learned from doing it, not just the theoretical side of it. How long does it take to complete? Is it a year thing or is it longer?
It is a 12-month course.
Then, so the process of taking someone through this. So not from the learning, if you work with a client, just on a high level, what are the things that one needs to focus on? So let's take an example. I think that will be the easiest. If we take an example of somebody, let's just say who's moving into, or let's use a divorce case, I think, because that is something that we get a lot. Somebody recently got divorced or they're about to get divorced, and you start working with them. Whether it's an existing client of yours, but this is now happening. What is now different going through this process and the things that you've learned from doing the certification versus what you would have done previously?
I think that naturally one know how to deal with your clients in terms of the instinct that you can see this guy or this person is really disturbed or is very fractured-minded or is just absolutely numb from what is now happening in their lives. Having the skills, it actually just helps to identify better, what is the struggle that this particular client is actually going through, and what tools can you actually apply to to help them, to help them get calm about their situation, because that is the protocol of being a transitionist planner, is to actually put your client in a space where they are calm, to actually give them a better perspective or a different perspective of what they are experiencing at the moment. And then, just taking them together with yourself and the expertise that you've built and work out a plan that can work for them. Getting back to your question about what would I now do different if I have encountered a person that is now going through a divorce and, going through, she's now, there's no turning back. There's absolutely no, no solving the problem. So she has to deal with a lot of decisions. And, sometimes it is just so overwhelming that the person don't know what to do. So just by using that was one of Susan Bradley's first tools, a decision-free zone, it actually just helps the client when doing that exercise to put their mind at ease and to help them with a process. This is what happens now. This can happen later. And just doing that exercise puts the client in a better position where they feel in control of their situation. So that is just an example of what I've learned and how I can now actually apply what I've learned better.
Can you already see a difference in your practice, or is it still very early days? Yeah, so just from that experience, obviously it's the more you do it, the more comfortable you get, the easier it becomes to talk to people and take them through the processes, identify which tools you should be using in which circumstance. But can you see a difference already in your business?
Francois, that as financial planners, we deal with people, and that means relationships. So what makes people go into a different direction with your relationship is because they don't feel that you listen to where they are and what they are really going through. They might look as if they are, with you during the meeting, but they go out there and they just feel, what did I really get out of this? I can definitely say that the depth of our relationship with my existing clients and with new clients is on a different level. And it's something which I've learned very, very early on in my career, and that is that, to get a new client is very hard. Okay, there's, you don't keep all your clients definitely because there's a reason, season, and lifetime people that you meet. But the investment that you make in a relationship with a client, if you are serious about what you want to do in the industry, you have to go deeper into those relationships. So this actually helps to deepen the relationship. Horses for courses. Some people would find that comfortable and some people won't. But for me, because of my values, because of who I am, and because of what I stand for in terms of our care, it will certainly make a difference.
Is there any element of the certification that also deals with how you're running your business, or is it purely focused on supporting and holding hands and helping people make decisions and helping them through stages and transitioning into new phases of their life? Or is there also another part to that certification that also focuses on how you can run your business better as well, or is this purely on the human side of it?
Francois, I think, like in anything in life, you can take things as deep as you can, or you can do it as intense. I've learned a couple of skills from the interaction which I have internationally, but this is more focused on the human side of things and how to assist during that process. It's not just an emotional thing, so it is the adaptive financial planning side of it.
Okay, but now can you expand a little bit on that adaptive financial planning? What does that mean?
Well, that is a new way of thinking, and that is when you come across a challenge, to actually see that as an opportunity. So if you as a financial planner can help your client through that adaptation from having to deal with a difficult situation or a changing situation, as you so well said, it's not necessarily a difficult situation, but it is a changing situation, and they can adapt to a life, and you can help them living a better life and a more meaningful life through the planning that you do, but also through that adaptive financial planning change process. That is very valuable.
And I'm just now thinking, not out loud luckily, but I'm just thinking to myself, we always hear that people will remember how you made them feel and not what you actually said to them and those kind of things. Or even how you treat, it's like, how did you make them feel? And I get the sense that this plays heavily onto that, because now they walk out there and said, oh, Mariette, she listened to me. She helped me make this. I thought this was this huge decision, like it was a huge decision for you to come onto the podcast. And I put a lot of stress on you, which was unnecessary. But it's the same kind of thing where you help somebody through that and they just feel this lightness, like, oh, this is like this big thing off my shoulder. I think of that chicken licking monkey on the shoulder. It's you've helped them sort that out, and it just makes them feel peaceful. It makes them feel happy. It makes them feel, and because it's so on that feeling side of it, it tends to maybe have a lot more value than showing somebody, I got you 10% growth in a market that did nothing last year kind of thing. Do you think that would summarize it appropriately?
Francois, feelings are the one bit of it. But I think at the end, people also want to see that that their life is changing, and that that they've got a solution to this particular change which is now taking place in their life. But in the same time, that they feel that they have done it almost with you, and not just only, there's a co-creation of a solution. And during the time that they have got to make certain decisions, then you're there for them. You don't pressurize them into doing things. But at the end of the day, what do I want to achieve? I want to make sure that at the end of the day, the client is optimally in a position where their life is good, which will help make their life better because of this process.
So it's about progress.
It is about progress, but it's also about embracing the change in life and making the best out of that, and creating a new life and a new circumstances. And there's so many of them. I mean, there's so many people getting retrenched. There's so many people that loses their loved ones, their children. They get divorced. They inherit a lot of money, but they also lose a lot of money. And that is the other thing, is that if you don't take your client through a process which is thorough, the chances are, I would say, I think the statistic shows 92% of people that inherit a lot of money or that get sudden money, whether it be from retirement or any other type of source, if they don't have got a proper process going through it, then the chances are that they end up with nothing in 18 months later.
It's interesting. I mean, as you can see, I'm sort of grappling with this whole concept around, so what does this actually do? And the answer for me is it does so many things. It's not just one thing. There are many areas that we are helping clients with. For me, the most important thing is helping somebody move forward from wherever it is that they are, and that there is a process and there are tools that can help you to do that effectively. And of course, the client has to allow you to do that. It's like anything we do. If the client doesn't allow you an opportunity to help them, you can't do anything. It's like taking the horse to the water, but you can't make them make it drink. Mariette, what is it that makes this so powerful? What is that, the crux of this whole thing? Why is it so powerful?
What makes it powerful is that I now, for once, have got tools that I can apply, which is scientifically founded, which is thought through, which is being put together through 15 years of great skill. And by using these tools, I can really help my client move forward. So, I have, in any case, helped my clients through transitions previously. But the question is, did I really do my best? Did I really make a difference? Was it the best for the client at that moment of time? And, when I look back at some of the clients and how they made their decisions later on, no, maybe I could have done it better. The crux for me is that I now have something that I can use that will really help the client go through any transition or change in their life, being positive or negative, to help them make better decisions.
Okay, now that summarizes it very nicely. And I've got the full picture now of what this is all about. So obviously then the next question, Mariette, the obvious next question for me is, from a business point of view, Do you charge for this? Is this a value-added service that you are offering your clients? Or where does this fit into your entire business model, apart from doing the right thing and because you care and all those things? Is there also an opportunity to obviously earn revenue from the service? And do you offer the service as a standalone service as well? Or is it only, it's like if you are a client, we look at the financial, but then I can also help you with this?
So that is a bit of a difficult question for me to just answer you in a straightforward way, simply because I am a tied agent. But the reason, once again, looking at the future and where the industry is going to in terms of a fee-based industry, having your value proposition in line with what you can charge a client and what you can't, I am now aligned and I've differentiated myself in such a way that I can have, I've got more than one option in terms of what I can charge, how I can structure my business. So it just preempts me to be better prepared and to have a value proposition which I can charge a fee for. The future would tell, but that's a journey.
And it's interesting because one of the things I have been thinking about is that, talking, it's really been something that came up during the interview now, is because I obviously know that you are aligned with a company. But it is, for me, I get the idea that doesn't have to define you. And it doesn't define Mariette, definitely not. Because Mariette does it the Mariette way. And those words you stole from me because I was thinking that as you were about to say it, I thought, so that's the Mariette way. And then you said it yourself. And that is the thing where a lot of times we look at somebody and we say, oh, you are a momentum agent, or you are a liberty agent, or a discovery, whatever they call them. We should be very careful of just looking at a title or at a relationship and assume that you're all about just, all you need to do is sales. And I mean, it's true. We can be honest about that if you are in that space, then you do get pressure to do certain production targets. And I guess the longer you're there, the less maybe that happens because you've built books and that kind of stuff. And it's maybe more on the younger people and that where they are more serious about the targets and those kind of things. So that's there. It doesn't go away. But what's very inspiring to me is that people like yourself, and there's a few of them, that do not let their association or their affiliation or the fact that they're employed by an insurance company to allow that to define them of how they do business. They do business the way that they want to do business, and they just happen to sell this product. It's like owning any other business out there. If I decide to open a TV shop and I happen to sell Samsungs, then that's what I'm selling. But I run that TV shop the way that I want to run it. And that is where I'm really inspired to say, and I've always said, it's like on my 10 fingers, I can count, I think less than that, the people that I would usually refer people to. Unfortunately, it's like that. It's with all of us. We've got our people that we would refer them to. And of those people, there are people who's tied, there are people who's independent, and there are people who work for banks and for bigger. So it is not about who you align yourself with. It's everything to do with the way that you behave, the things that you focus on. Are you able to tell a client that, listen, this is not good for you, so you shouldn't be doing this, versus you must take this RA because in the back of your mind, if you don't do that, then you don't make your targets and you've got to manage on your case. So the point I'm making is that you are a typical example or the typical proof that you don't have to let these other things define you. You can still do it the way that you want to do it and that you believe is the right way. And with you focusing on the because I care, I mean, I've dealt with you now for not a number of years, but I think it's been 2 years or so that we maybe really gotten to know each other. And you are also walking the talk. You are doing the things that you, from my perspective, it's like always in the eye of the beholder. But for me, well done on doing that and for building this business the way that you want to. And for looking forward. There's not a lot of people that's been in this game for 25 years that are necessarily looking forward. We get stuck in the way that we do things. And if you're wondering if there's a question in there, there's not a question. It's just something I wanted to say and share with everybody. So I want to congratulate you on what you're doing and the role that you are playing. You say you like to pay it forward. Can you maybe allude a little bit on, the kind of things that you're doing to pay things forward?
I believe that, what makes me the happiest in life, and I think what makes a lot of people happiest in life, is if they can do something for somebody else. I think there's so many ways that we all can make this world a better place by living an integrous life, by never compromise, who you are, and also never compromise other people and what they believe in. I think what I do a lot of work with women. I speak to a lot of platforms about women in business, women in finance, and just to inspire women to, just live their best life and to believe in themselves. I do that, and wherever I get asked to contribute in terms of my knowledge, I do that with pleasure. I'm involved with the FBI's 123 Money project, and yes, so I think that I do a lot of that, and I must say I've got my charity within my business where I help a lot of people where I don't charge them, but I see that as my 10th or whatever you want to call that. But it really is very satisfactory to help people and to see how they excel, and the one word that you give them, how that changes their life.
It's sort of one of the struggles I have, that I also like to help, but we sometimes do it to our own detriment, and it's good to have and to know how to keep that balance between that. But I think it was in 2015, 16, I think it was 2016, for a month long, every day I posted something that said today's thought. And one of the things I said, that if you really want to do something for yourself, do something for someone else. Because there was something that happened and someone asked me a very simple thing, would you pick this up and drop this off here? And I had to go a little bit out of my way to do it. But just I realized once I did that, I mean, that's a very simple thing. I'm not even talking about the big stuff where you change someone's life. This was just like going out of your way, go pick up something, go drop it off for them, and it helped them. And the way I felt, that made me put up that post to say, well, you want to do something for yourself, do something for someone else. And I don't, we hear all these sayings and all kinds of things, and we read a lot of things on social media these days. But until you do it, you don't really understand what it means. So I fully subscribe and agree with what you've just said.
Say something about that, Francois. That is exactly what you do. So I think that just the mere fact that you are paying it forward by helping other financial planners, learning more, and doing these interviews out of your own initiative, I think that really is, that is a very great example of paying it forward. So, yes, we all have to make a difference. And I think you do what, doing this particular program makes a big difference. And I hope that people listen to it and learn from it. And, so well done. Well done for that, Francois.
Thank you very much. Thanks, Mariette. Then, to get a little bit personal, I always get a little bit personal here at the end, but not too personal. So I always say, don't worry, there's no skeletons, there's nothing. I hope. Just a very simple question is what has been the greatest challenge that you've faced in your career? So whether it was now since you left Tikkie, so let's say everything that happened before Tikkie stays there, so we don't want to know all those things. But since you've started your working life, if you will, I mean, whether it was during when you traveled, you did the modeling, or you ran the import-export business, and then moving into financial services, during that time, what would you say was maybe one of your biggest challenges and that you've managed to overcome, and maybe the lessons learned from that?
Well, I would say that there was definitely two things that happened with me. The one was when I was in my export business. The Helderberg fell, and two of my very big purchases were on that plane, and that had a very huge impact on my business and my way forward, because that had an immense impact in what my business turned out to be. And I would say then to have joined the financial industry, and as a woman to do what I've done, I think was for me, it's a constant growth process. So I would say that I'm grateful that I was able to persevere, because it taught me a lot of lessons. It kept me humble. And if it wasn't for the industry and the toughness of it, because it is a tough industry, whether you be a man or a woman, it is a tough industry. So you have to be resilient. I got to learn how to be resilient. When you're down and your client slaps a policy, you have to get up and you have to be positive and you have to do things different, not to make the same mistake. So I think joining the industry as a financial planner was the toughest thing I could have done in my whole entire life, looking back at it now. So, yeah, I don't know how to answer you differently, Francois, but it was not easy for me.
Yeah, some people would say it's not a challenge, it's just plain crazy.
Yes, well.
Yeah, well, your vision for, you said earlier that things are changing, things are not the same. It's definitely, we have to look at where, how things are evolving in terms of the financial planning industry or profession. And what is your vision for the industry? So in other words, what would you like it to turn out like? And then also maybe where you see us going in the shorter term, in the next 5 years?
Well, you know that I've got a passion for professionality. I would love to see the industry, and I know there's a lot that is happening in the industry, to make this a more professional practice, to call it that. I would also like to see that more women join the industry, and for the industry to make it easier for younger people to join in and, to take over. I think the industry is in a crisis where there's a lot of matured financial advisors that hasn't got an idea on how to exit the industry. So there's a lot of people, young people, that I think could benefit joining the industry, but I think they need a lot of mentorship and they need to have a lot of help to make this going forward. I also think that one must not, one has got to bear in mind that the generation is changing. We in South Africa, the demographics are changing. The income earners are changing. So, where are you going to focus your practice going forward? Because there is definitely the high net worth people a lot of them are immigrating. A lot of people already have got their consultants. There's a new type of middle class that comes in. And the question is just with legislation and compliance, how are we going to really be able to serve the clients that needs us most better? Because I think the industry makes it difficult. And I think that is a challenge, because the people that really, really needs the advice are going to have to go to robo-advice, because it's just the way that the industry and the legislation is spanned out to be. So, but I think the crux of the matter for me is that the industry must be more professional, and with that comes the integrity, also the skills for people, and how to be practical in what you do. That is how I see. But definitely, people are no longer just going to be satisfied to pay commission for a life policy that they can actually buy over the counter at Jets, for that matter. So, what are you going to do to have your clients stick with you, and give advice that actually sticks?
I'm waiting for the day that you can also buy a life policy at the Pick and Pay checkout, where you've got now the iTunes gift cards and the Google Play. so that's the thing. And what you're saying is very true. And I think about the accounting profession as well, where we are getting more and more automation, or it's becoming easier and easier for somebody to do their own books, if you will. Totally unrelated to what we've been talking about, but even they need to say, okay, so where are these things going, and am I adding additional value? What I'm going to do different for my clients, because they can now go and link their bank account to their accounting package. Everything gets pulled in. You set up like what must go where, and 80% of that stuff is automated, and the other 20% you just need to go click this goes there. So people are starting to do those things themselves. And I saw there was a report published now on South Africa, for a change, of what artificial intelligence, machine learning, automation, all these things is going to do to certain jobs in South Africa. And a lot of these professional jobs are going to diminish. So it's not like you won't get a good accountant anymore, but there will be a need for a lot less of them. We won't need as many as we do at the moment. And what are they doing looking forward to see what's going to happen? And then we must do the same in financial planning. How do we look forward? And I think the only way is to really have this attitude for continuous learning. If you're not going to have that, things is going to pass you by, and one day you're going to wake up and think that you still live in your house, but there's no more house to live in. So I think it's so crucial for people. And also, don't just listen to one person. Don't just listen to me or you or just the famous ones out there. Listen to many different people and then make up your own mind of where are you going to go and what is going to work for you. Because I don't have all the answers. You don't. The next 20 people, 100 people also don't have the answer. But everybody's got an idea. And I think the more we can share ideas, the better we can actually do. Mariette, it was awesome. Thank you very much. I appreciate the time you took to chat with me. We're sitting here in your lovely home. It's really fantastic. I want to move here now. But really, just from my side, thank you very much. I appreciate your time, and I wish you all the best.
Thank you so much, Francois, and all the best with your program.
Thank you for listening to Propulsion. If you found this episode valuable, please subscribe and leave us a review on iTunes or your favorite podcasting platform. This will help us tremendously. For more about Propulsion and other valuable information, please visit our website at propulsion.co.za.